Hey, it's the Plush Paul here, and this is my entry for the MaRaython. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's basically an event where lots of content creators are coming together and reviewing a different Rayman game. Now, for me, I decided to pick an interesting Rayman game. Which one? Oh wait, I didn't get the game before recording. 1 second. The game I decided was, of course, Rayman Raving Rabbids 2. But why this game? What's so special about Rayman Raving Rabbids 2? He's not even on the box. That's insulting. Well, this is one of the first games I ever played, and I think Rayman does still have enough of an important role that I can verify it is still a Rayman game. It's so nice, I bought it twice. The DS one's a different game entirely, just based off the Wii one, so they're technically different games, but that just shows how much I like it that I just wanted to get the other version. But with that said, pick up a controller and let's play Rayman Raving Rabbids 2. Guys, here's just a reminder to stick to the end because I will briefly talk about the DS version. I turned my bunny into Kratos. Rayman Raving Rabbids 2 story is very simple. The Rabbids have basically taken over the Earth and now we need to go around the world partaking in minigames to stop them. How does partaking in minigames help with this situation? I have no idea. And as the Rabbids have indeed taken over the Earth, you get to go to all sorts of real-world locations for your minigames this time around. Those areas being America, Europe, Asia, South America, and the unlockable, the tropics. I'm just gonna call it Hawaii so then we know it as an actual location though. For a bit of an example on what the minigames we'll be playing are like, let's look at America. In the USA, we have a minigame where you're in a theatre talking loudly on your phone. A minigame where you hit your loud children you can't be bothered to control, beating a patient unconscious, spitting in cups at an old saloon in a minigame that just doesn't work, or becoming Spider-Man. Geez, imagine a rabbit with the Venom symbiote. That would be absolute carnage. As for the others, they also get their own minigames based off of their locations, with something like Europe obviously having more representation because it's more than one country. Us British people being as unlucky as possible to get the worst minigame in the game. I mean, there are technically less fun minigames, but this one can't even be counted as a minigame. All you do is hold the Wii Remote and nunchuck up and that's it. Like, you couldn't come up with anything else for the UK Ubisoft? In fact, you know what, I'm going to come up with one right now. What if we got a minigame set on the London Eye? And then the goal of the minigame is to shoot the Rabbids in the different carts on said London Eye. That would be cool. Oh, and each location also has a Rabbid cover of a popular pop song. I do love that there are different instruments you can pick with different difficulty ratings. That's a cool touch. Also, when you pick the microphone, if you mess up, it actually messes with the lyrics of the song. I love it when rhythm games do this. Hell, even Fortnite does it now that I think about it. But if you only have a Nintendo DS, don't worry. The DS port has these songs too. There is of course your simpler minigames, but then you've also got the more skill-based ones, just to balance things out. There is also this really cool memory minigame, because every minigame compilation's gonna have a memory-based one. Well, this one is a police investigation. In each round you will see a crime that was committed by a different Rabbid. Then you have to point out which Rabbid committed the crime and rat them out to the police. A lot of these are made for the nunchuck in mind, but if you don't own a nunchuck that's totally fine, you can still play all the minigames. They're just not as good without the nunchuck. The way that you can play these minigames is either by free play, where you can also play as the Rabbids by the way, or of course a trip where you'll play 6 different minigames, those obviously being for the area you selected. The final minigame in any trip is of course a music section. You can also make your own tour mixing various minigames from different locations. Awesome. You also can select every single minigame and play them all back to back in a random order. Yeah, unfortunately you can't choose the order you do these in, otherwise I would do them all alphabetically. The best part is, you can name it whatever you want. Then there is some extra stuff, like how in each minigame there's high scores owned by different Rayman characters. Glowboxes having 12,000 points, and if you beat it, you can get a new costume. For these minigames, I'd always just put my high score name as random fictional characters. Sometimes I'll also just put the name Fuck You Glowbox just because it's funny. I also love these intros before the minigames too. They're simple but they're fun. I do think we should have had some of the minigames with a lower score requirement though, because some are way harder than others to get the points in. You'll have really easy ones like Burp, where you guess what you do here, or Photo Booth, where you guess what you do here, or Fart Wars, where you know what, you get the point. But then other minigames are way harder to get points in. This can just be down to the design of them, of course, more than anything else. But I do think the problem is just because they picked a number and stuck with it for all of them without taking any consideration into balancing. Also, some minigames you do very little, like, of course, there's the chess game where you just hold your Wii Remote and nunchuck up. But then you've got others like Burp, where most of it is just shaking the Wii Remote. In fact, that is literally all you do for the plumbing minigame. And then you have games like the Indiana Jones one, where you have to move your arms so freaking quickly that it will kill you after the minigame's over. On the bright side, the costumes themselves are really cool. A lot of them are references to different pieces of media. There is also official crossovers too, like for example, they had some Nickelodeon stuff because at the time of this game coming out, that was around the time that Rabbids Invasion was being made, so it makes sense for some Nickelodeon stuff to creep its way into this game. Also, there was a fighting game with Ninja Turtles, and they had Rabbids as playable characters. Rayman Raving Rabbids 2 also has Ezio and Sam Fisher from those other games Ubisoft made. Rayman also blends in by imitating the Rabbids with a costume and voice, so they didn't have to pay for another voice actor. Very clever. If they wanted to do this though, they definitely should have had this be the default style and have you unlock the regular Rayman skin. Or hell, have both unlocked, but the starter one is the Rabbids one. Oh man, and I haven't even mentioned the shooter games yet. This blew my mind as a kid. We get to play as Rayman for some on-rail first-person shooter action, but the maps are real-world locations the Rabbids have taken over. And yes, dear viewer, that is live action, not just them recreating places. That is so creative of an idea, and so goddamn cool. Like, yeah, Call of Duty nowadays looks so realistic, but this is genuine real life with these characters causing all sorts of mayhem. As a kid, it blew my mind, but as an adult, it's still such a cool idea done right. It kind of reminds me of those live-action story-based games like Erica, where they literally filmed tons and tons of scenes in different ways. The only issue with this mode is some components may be a little jittery and move around a little in a way that clearly looks fake. Out of the 5, 2 are set in Paris too, as Ubisoft is a French studio after all. This reminds me of how we never got a Duck Hunt on Wii, like, how did that not happen? Or hell, if you want to get really creative, why didn't we get an Alan Wake demake for the Wii? That would have been really cool. And that was Rayman Raving Rabbids 2. A simple game, but definitely a cool one. Nothing too amazing, but it's definitely got its place to me as a childhood classic. And yes, some minigames aren't that good, but most of them are. My 2 favourites definitely have to be the photo booth minigame and this one here where you're sliding on the ice getting ice cream for this fat guy. I definitely recommend picking up a controller and playing Rayman Raving Rabbids 2. Wait a sec, did this minigame do some real life foreshadowing with sparks of hope? Like, come on, that says Rabbids Sparks. I did mention the DS version of this game, and I think it's only fair if I talk about it very briefly. The game is quite different from the Wii version. Yes, they have similar themes and ideas, but the minigames themselves, not a lot of them are actually in both games. You see, there is some in the DS one that do try to be like one in the Wii version, but for the most part, these are fully original games. And the ones that are similar obviously are quite different due to controls and visual style. The locations are also quite a bit different. For example, now Japan and Asia are separate locations. I don't know why that is. They also have Oceania instead of the tropics, which I think is really cool. Just because that way it's not just, oh, the tropics, it's an actual place. I think that definitely works a whole lot better. There is also Latina, which, instead of it being based off of a place, what they tried to do is represent the culture, and it's just several locations within that culture. I think that's kind of cool. even if I do prefer all the places actually being real locations, that's kind of part of the appeal to me. I don't mean any disrespect in the slightest, though. Overall, I'd say the DS version is definitely worth picking up because it is quite different from the Wii version. I just think it's really cool to have, but it's even cooler if you have already played the Wii one. Also, while I'm here, I may as well talk about the box art because I do like the American one, but the European one is so much better, just embracing the chaos. And with it being on a plane, it shows that you're moving around a lot more. I think the ice on the rabbit's head is meant to be a part of the globe. If so, that is such a cool Easter egg. If not, wow, that must be a really bad brain freeze for nothing. I just realised that the background images for both the DS and Wii box arts are also plain windows. All I can do now is decide what I want to do for my birthday special. And all you can do is like and subscribe.